Oh God. I feel like this is the first time are we just gonna do a cold start, or how are we gonna do this?
We've already started. What do you mean?
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, I'm not a video editing professional, unlike in YouTube and everything professional.
No. I understand. Well, everybody, welcome to yet another podcast. It's fun to have these. This time I am joined by my friend Emmy. You've been on plenty of podcasts in the past when we used to do them more consistently, but now we're kind of getting back into a little bit. And today we have a bit of a special one since it is the month of June. And you know what that means.
It's time for rainbows, everyone!
Rainbow time. Get your Skittles, get your... What else is rainbow?
I don't know, gummy bears?
That Pop-Tart cat?
Pop-Tart? You mean Neon Cat?
Yeah, I just don't like saying that word.
What, you don't like saying Neon?
Not a fan.
Oh, come on. Cat girls are like so common in the trans community.
Well, that's a good segue into what we're talking about today because, in fact, you are the one who actually came up with this idea for a special Pride Month podcast because you wanted to share your own experiences. Would you like to say it for yourself?
Yeah, so hi everyone. I've been on here before a few times. I've never explicitly said it, but I thought with all the stuff that's going on in the world and it being Pride Month, it might be kind of cool to hear, I guess, someone who is a bit older. Am I old? Am I old?
We're in our mid 20s. Let's say we're in our mid 20s.
Yeah, I'm 25, but
yeah,
literally mid 20.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought it'd be cool to share some of my experiences with folks. Maybe it could help some people, and, tis the season, right?
Tis the season, indeed. Well, I guess the first thing to do is quickly introduce yourself for people who might not be familiar with you. I think most people know you as, at least for people watching my channel, most people watching will probably know you as my roommate, but let's go beyond just being the roommate. Who is Emmy?
Yeah, so, I am currently just a grad student. I kind of, hop in and out whenever, between, Zeez streaming. I go to work at the University, of Washington, and I do research there, and I am pretty into Magic the Gathering, I guess. That's, one fact about me. I'm writing a book, maybe I'm hoping to get it published one day, and, is there anything else interesting about me currently? It's always hard to come up with interesting things about myself.
I feel like you're very good at programming. You love cooking. Okay. You're teaching me how to cook.
I really love cooking. Cooking was one of my favorite things, actually.
Yes.
It's so relaxing. I love looking up new recipes, especially mad scientist recipes, like that one time we blood pork chop.
Grilling meats, baby. Grilling meats.
That was really fun, actually. I've always wanted to try blowtorching a piece of meat.
It's funny, as we record this, we actually have some steaks on the grill that are being smoked right now, so...
Actually being grilled.
Yeah, we're making a sequel to Grilling Meats called Grilling Meats, but there's no apostrophes around grilling, and there's no blowtorch being used.
At least not directly on the meat.
Not directly on the meats, exactly. So yeah, since this month, rather, is Pride Month, I thought you could maybe talk a little bit about your experiences and why Pride Month is so important. So let's start off with that.
Yeah, I kind of learned about, I learned about Pride Month kind of later, around, I feel like it was 2013 or 14 was the first time I heard about it. I knew about gay people, I guess, existing as a kid. And, oh my gosh, I always tell people this story because I was just a mega based, I guess, kid. Because I explained to a lot of friends about this. I used to be a very passionate atheist.
This was in elementary school, I believe, right?
Yeah, this was in elementary school.
Elementary school.
Yeah, because my mom gave me like a science textbook, and I just got really into it for whatever reason. And I found about I got into like old atheist YouTube, and I. And so I at first it was very casual. I was like, yeah, I'm just an atheist. But then like, because you're a kid, like some kids will like take offense to this like a lot. And I guess some people will. And so like, they'll just like, they got really mad at me. And like, that made me really mad. And so I ended up like doubling down on, I'm like, well, now I have to be an atheist because you're so offended by it. But I remember like learning about gay people, and then I was just like, yeah, I don't know if they love each other, I don't really see the point. And like, I guess like since then I knew about them, but I didn't think I was like in the community, if that made sense. And it took a while for me to realize I was trans, and then I realized I was trans like a bit later, and around the same time, like, because you're in that community, you start hearing about stuff like Pride Month a bit more. And I didn't really get to participate much, like, until, like, I think the first one that I really went to, like, the first, like, big parade, I, like, decided to go to one just to try to experience it, was... I'm trying to remember when it exactly was. This is really funny. This actually leads into... So, this was in Indianapolis in 2022. This is right after I graduated college. So, like, a big time skip between, like, me first, real knowing about Pride Month stuff, and then, like, I guess, sort of participating in the festivities. The highlight, I remember that a lot, not because the Pride Month was super memorable, but because I lost my wallet during that Pride Month. Because I remember people, a lot of the people, I was in like this support group at the time that would like meet, like we would meet virtually like every Tuesday. And we decided, everyone was like, oh yeah, we should wear trans colors. And I was like, oh, what should I wear that are trans colors? And because the flag is like blue, pink, and white. And
Thank you. I'm so glad you said the colors, because, you know, I feel bad because I actually don't know what they are. I know what it looks like, but I don't know what colors they are.
It's in my room! How do you not know what it is?
I'm colorblind. You could put blue, purple, pink. If they're all really bright light shades, you put them all next to each other. I can't tell the difference.
They're the pastel colors. They're the Sylveon is the trans Pokemon because... Oh my god.
I can't tell the difference. I'm sorry. I can't tell the colors. I'm sorry.
I feel like maybe you have a bit more of an excuse since you're colorblind, but...
Yes. I knew there was pink, but I didn't know if it was blue or purple.
It's the Sylveon colors. That's all you need to know. Just think Sylveon every time you need to... Like,
gotcha. All right.
Just dissolve Sylveon into your concept of being trans.
All right. Gotcha.
Okay. So, yeah. So I wore, like, blue jeans, a pink shirt, and, like, a white shirt over that. And I thought that worked. And I didn't live in Indianapolis at the time. I was going to college in Indiana University, which is in Bloomington. If you guys don't know where that is, that's like an hour away from Indianapolis. So there was a bus that would go there, and I got bus tickets to go to Indianapolis during the day to see everyone else. And because I was wearing girl pants, the front pockets were like fake, so I couldn't put my wallet in my front pocket, so I put it in my back pocket, right? And this is where I went wrong, because when I got up, my wallet fell out of my back pocket onto the bus seat, and I didn't realize until I like had been walking in town for like 15 minutes, but the bus had already left. So, yeah, that happened. And I just remember for the rest of the day, I was, like, trying to not panic about losing my wallet while, like, trying to enjoy the festivities with other folks. But, yeah, I ultimately had a pretty good time. I got my first trans flag from that Pride, and I had it in my room until recently. But my ex took it and made it into, like, an actual flag. and I had to get a replacement flag for it, so that flag isn't the one now. But I'm kind of fine with it because that flag, like, it got put for a good use, you know?
That is pretty cool. It's funny, just as a small aside, going back to the pants, we actually had a very similar experience just like, what, an hour ago? With your phone instead this time.
Oh yeah, so like we went to a garage sale because I saw a bunch of cameras there and I was just like, "Oh my gosh. Like I know nothing about cameras, but maybe some of this would be Zeez would know more about this stuff because like they do YouTube." And so I saw them yesterday. I came back, told them about it, and then we went back up to get them. And as we were coming back, I like had my hands full of stuff that I got from the garage sale, and I like remember tripping over a rock, and I guess that like loosened the phone from my pocket, and then like I guess it fell off because I didn't realize, and I was like panicking for like 15 minutes because I'm like, where's my phone? Until I remembered that it had like a tracker on it. So we realized that it was on the trail, and we walked back up and found my phone around where I tripped by the rock.
It's very funny. Very, very silly experience. And it's so funny that it happened just earlier, and we're both like, yeah, we're gonna talk about this. We have to.
No, it's so the like the loss of pockets is like something that like I feel like every trans girl talks about so much. Like
I don't know what I'd do without my deep pockets that can fit an entire Nintendo Switch.
I present like my research sometimes, right? So I have this like shirt that I wear to do it, and it's like a nice like beige shirt that makes me kind of look I don't know, like I hope it makes me look smart, but like it has fake pockets in it, and I like wear a skirt with it usually, so I don't have any pockets, so I usually just am holding my phone in my hand, and I like always forget because the pockets look like they're real pockets, but it's just the seam. Like they sewed everything except actually adding the pocket there. Like there's a hole for the pocket, but when you reach in, the hole is sewn shut. So they could have added a pocket, but they just chose not to. Oh.
Is that for the steaks?
Yes it is actually. Can we pause for 1 second? Oh.
I think there is smoking. Oh wow.
This one not so much. This one, very smoky.
Yeah, it was closer, to be fair.
I am going to put this one over to smoke a bit longer.
Yeah, that sounds
without
like
any
a plan.
heat, just so it gets the smoke.
Mm-hmm. We're back. The steaks look good. They look nice.
One of them looks good. The other one is a bit more iffy, but we can fix it.
Yeah. What were we talking about again?
Women's lack of pockets.
Women's lack of pockets. That's right. So your skirt that had a potential pocket, basically.
No,
but they
my
said,
skirt
nah.
didn't have a pocket. No, the shirt had a pocket.
Oh, the shirt.
But no. I will we need to actually put a picture of this shirt because this shirt is like the most disappointing shirt that I've ever seen. Like every time you reach down and you think you're gonna have a pocket, you reach in and then you encounter the seam where it's like sewn shut. It's so annoying. I prefer if they just didn't put a pocket there.
Interesting. Yeah,
so,
that
I actually learned to like start sewing pockets onto stuff, and there's a couple of my stuff that has pockets. I'm not very good at it, and I'm like always lacking time. So like I need to. I like bought a sewing machine for it too. I've been meaning to sew pockets onto that one shirt though. There is one skirt that I've modded to have pockets. That skirt is like probably the best one that I have. It's a very rare find. Whenever you're thrifting, I feel like finding something with pockets is that's like an S tier skirt.
For our gamers out there, that means we pulled the 5-star. We pulled an S tier. Thank you. Very silly. I guess the next question is, this one I feel like can be pretty tricky, but also probably one of the most exciting things about the process is, how did you decide on your name?
Oh no.
And I might have to tease you a little bit about one of them, but go ahead.
No, because you know the stupid ones.
I know the lore.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I feel like everyone who's ever I don't even know if I want to say this because all your fans are just going to start calling me this name now. And I'm never going to live down this stupid name that I chose when I was 15. Like, for all the baby trans people out there, they're just going to look at me and be like, oh my god, if I choose a bad name, then I will never live it down. Like Emmy, like she's just like, I'm just going to choose a bad name.
Emmy is a good name, though. I do like Emmy.
Okay, but like this is like the first name. This is like if you like are experimenting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so a long time ago when I was
to specify, it was long ago. I am a changed woman.
Long ago when the 4 nations lived in harmony. When I had a different name. I thought like Ember was a really cool name. So for reference, like I was born on Year of the Dragon. So I'm
cool,
Chinese.
by the way.
And so my mom decided to like base my dead name off of that, right? And it's a really cool name. It just doesn't fit me. So for a while my nickname was just Dragon from it. And so I was like trying to come up with like a way to like make the name, like, you know how you can like make certain names more like feminine. I'm trying to think about like a good example of that. Like
it's just adding Lynn to everything. Jacqueline.
Jackie works too.
Jackie,
like
or IE to things.
Yeah.
I feel like just adding Lynn just is so OP to things.
Or like if you're Christopher, you can go to Chris. I feel like that one's aged a bit more poorly though. But
Chris Deltarune mention? Yo, all the Deltarune people are gonna be like, oh my gosh, Chris Deltarune moment. Sorry. Deltarune fans never shut up about Deltarune. Sorry, continue.
Yeah, so I was thinking about it, and for those of you that don't know the lore, like, so there's a female counterpart to the dragon. So the dragon's like supposed to be masculine in Chinese mythology, but there's supposed to be a female counterpart to it, and it's usually the phoenix. And they're supposed to be opposites of each other. So most people think about dragons, they think about fire, right? But in China, dragons are like water serpents mostly, and they cause rain. And the phoenix is like more of like a firebird. Actually, this is like kind of, if you've played Pokemon, this is kind of like where the Lugia and Ho-Oh sort of lore is kind of based off of.
Whoa, that's cool.
So I was just like, oh, I should be Ember because that's like a phoenix. That's like a firebird, right? I thought about Phoebe because I wanted, but that name just didn't fit me for a while.
Oh yeah, definitely not. You are not a Phoebe.
Yeah, so I couldn't make anything work other than Ember, and I really liked the name Emmy for a bit. So I just wanted to go by Emmy. I knew I wanted to go by Emmy before I wanted like a formal version of the name that I could just write on like legal documents. So I was like trying to reverse engineer something that would work with Emmy because I didn't want to be Emily. I was like, no, Emily's too generic. I don't want to be Emily, and I don't want to be Emma.
Apologize to all Emilys right now.
Okay, I'm sorry, all Emilys. I am. Okay, so this is. I actually need to get into the full name to make this apology because I don't know, because Lynn. So I was like looking up names. So Lynn means like.
All goes back to Lynn, doesn't it?
It does. You're really. This is. I'm dying. You're really airing out my like 15-year-old naming schemes in front of.
I gotta. I'm sorry.
It's okay. I'm the one who said we should do this. Lynn. I looked up means like lake or river. I think. I'm like. Probably butchering this because I have no idea. I don't remember that much. I was like, oh, I could be fire and water. That's so cool. And so I was like, I should be Emberlyn.
Emberlyn. It is so funny. For the longest time, it is so silly that. Actually, you know what? It's always funny when you tell it. I'm not gonna say it with our little friend group and how we all call you Emberlyn. Go ahead.
No,
it's always funniest when you say it.
Everyone in our friend group calls me Emberlyn.
But I think the funniest thing is that you always say is that somehow, like the three of us, because there's like, you know, the three other people that are on the podcast when it came to discussing and calling you Emberlyn.
Race Man.
Race Car 67 and the Little Rookie. If you
Little Rookie
watched in the
and
past.
You all independently converged on, like, you guys didn't talk to each other. You guys all just when I told you about Emberlyn, you guys just started calling, or if you found out about Emberlyn, you guys just started calling me that, like, as if, like, it was my full name. Like, I did something, but I was like, Emberlyn?
It's like pretty much anytime we feel like teasing her, it's always Emberlyn. That's always what it is.
Yeah, I feel like it's become the OK Boomer. You just go like, OK Emberlyn.
Okay, Emberlyn. Although for me particularly, I think I have a new nickname for you, and it's because of Freerin. And I always call you Miss Emmy now. I feel like that's like the biggest nickname instead of Emberlyn. Yeah. That's usually what I use instead. After we watch Freerin, because we watch Freerin together, Fern always calls Freerin Miss Freerin or Mistress Freerin, and so I'm just like, Miss Emmy.
Please do not call me mistress.
No, I will not call you mistress. That's why I feel like Miss Emmy is like, I don't know, it feel like it rolls off the tongue well, Miss Emmy. I don't know.
It does roll off the tongue well.
It feels nice.
Maybe I'll be Dr. Emmy soon. Fingers crossed.
True. Emmy. Emberlyn.
So, you know, it's funny because one of my OCs, their names, I was like really into My Little Pony back in the day. I was really into My Little Pony, so I made a pony sona, like, that I still use, actually. And anyone that knows me online will know that my pony sona name is Wispy Daydream. So it's like, Dreamy. Wispy Daydream.
Wait, I don't get it.
Well, some people call me Dreamy, but, like, it's like Drem. Am I forcing it?
I actually didn't know that. What the heck? I learned a new fun factoid about you today.
You did not know my pony OC's name was.
No, I know your pony OC's name, but I didn't know like the lore behind it.
Oh well, the lore is actually
to be fair, whenever you talk about My Little Pony, I kind of like tuned out a little bit.
No, except for is so peak.
Okay, but there was that one time when you told me all about My Little Pony and how like the cutie marks worked and how I said that like this is actually just very classist and it's like all the ponies are very it's like an elitist club of ponies, and that's why I think Discord should have won, because he was actually the good guy the whole time.
You're like, Discord did nothing wrong.
Discord did nothing wrong. I have not seen a single minute of the show, like genuinely outside of it being on in the background when I was a kid.
You never even watched it. We need to watch it still. I'm gonna force you to watch it. No. You watched all of You're watching all of Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, but you can't watch a single episode. Think about all the filler in Yu-Gi-Oh! GX that you have to sit through.
I would much rather watch Chumley talk about grilled cheese sandwiches for 10 episodes straight. Then
you want to watch the Golden Eggwich again?
Not really. I'll be honest with you, not really. Oh my goodness. Anyways, we're getting off topic here. I feel like we can move on to the next question, which would be...
Well, actually, there was one more thing I wanted to add, because you actually found out about the Emberlyn name through our computer programming class.
I did?
Yeah, so I think the way it first got out, okay, was we for our programming class we used this thing called Visual Studio,
VB.
Yeah, so for those of you that don't know, Visual Studio is like Microsoft Word but for coding, basically.
Yeah.
And so like we had to make an account, and I had to choose an account name. So I chose Emberlyn as the account name. And one of our friends was like, and you know who I think you know who I'm talking about, because I don't want to say their name.
No, you can say their name. They've been on the channel in the past. Jonathan.
Oh, they have? Jonathan, yeah. So Jonathan was like, oh, why does it say Emberlyn? And I was just like, oh, it's a joke. It's a pseudonym. I'm like really concerned about my privacy, actually. I don't want anyone to know about my name, so I made up a fake alias that I go by online. And he was like, oh. And I think you found out about it around then too. And I like, and then like, freaking the little rookie, like, would just make fun of me endlessly for this in college. like, because we were roommates in college, and so he would just constantly make fun of me. And, like, even before then, I realized that people were going to make fun of me for this name. I was like, no, this name is too much. It's too extra. People are going to make fun of me. I need to change this. I need to delete this as soon as possible. No one wants to know about this name.
And now you're talking about it on a podcast.
Yeah, I guess, like, if this podcast gets big, I guess millions of people maybe one day will know.
Millions of... Yeah, okay, hold on. Slow down here. Slow down.
Hey,
we're getting 1,000
right?
tops. I don't want to...
Probably, yeah.
I don't know. Who knows about that?
Yeah, so I guess I've sold my, like, humiliation for, like, $1 for you.
I'm not monetized on this channel, actually, so...
You're not monetized on this? Oh, it's too small, isn't it?
Yeah, it's too small. There's not enough watch time. We're close!
Okay, but yeah, let's move on to the next topic now that we know about the stupid backstory.
The lore. Yes, the lore. No, it's not backstory. You gotta say lore. That's the key word that people love nowadays. You can't say backstory. That's not as interesting. You gotta say lore.
I'm sorry, I'm not up with the kids anymore.
Oh, it's just I'm just memeing. Anyways, next question is, at what age did you realize that you were trans, and anything that helped you realize along that journey?
Okay, so this gets into the My Little Pony stuff, because this is like, oh my god, the My Little Pony.
I feel like we're opening a rabbit hole, that's for sure.
This is a huge rabbit hole that, like, maybe a couple people I've told the entire thing at some point, right?
Give us the Spark Notes.
The Spark Notes, yes. I'll give you the Twilight Spark Notes. That's a
wait, on a quick aside, do people even use Spark Notes anymore, or do they just use ChatGPT?
I don't know.
Anyways, go on.
So as a kid, I was a very... I want to say I was a very autistic kid, because, like, this seems unrelated, but this is actually very related, okay? Because I, like, did not like... I thought I didn't like music as a kid. Like, I thought I just... Like, music was not for me.
You're like that grandma from Coco. No music.
Well, no, but she was traumatized. I actually just did. I never heard a song that I liked. I was just like, all music is just, like, it's just whatever, you know. Because my only exposure to music was like my parents' music and like pop music, and I didn't like either of those, and so I was just like, and so my mom was just like, Emmy, you have to be more emotionally attuned to things. So I'm going to make you read romance books.
Bruh.
I'm going to make you read romance books.
At what age is this?
This is like at 10 to like...
10?
I was
That's
like in
wild.
4th grade.
That's wild.
No, it was really funny because I had like an assignment that I had to do for class where we had to write about our favorite song, and I was like, I don't like music. And just, my teacher was just like, what?
That's funny.
Like, what? Well, actually, I did have a favorite song at that point, and I think it was the Pokemon Season 11 theme song.
Dude, no, that's so funny, because if people ever ask me what my favorite song was, I was like, yeah, do you know, Drawn to Life OST Frostbite? Do you know this? Do you know video game OST when the Pokemon from Mystery Dungeon are exploring the cave? Yeah, I know, it's just funny, but like when people are, oh, my favorite song is insert generic pop song. It's like we give really stupid answers.
To say it.
Yeah, so that's why I always said when I was a kid, I'm just like the classics. I was like, I just listen to classical stuff. I just say I listen to classical music. That was like what I told people.
I said. My teacher was like, Emmy, you seem like such an intellectual. Maybe you seem like a classical person to me. I was like, yeah, I'm definitely.
Yeah, that's what I said. Whenever you're just like trying to hide it, I just like the classics, the classical music.
Okay, this seems like really far off track on like the freaking how did I realize, but trust me, this is related. So my mom asked me to read romance books, right?
Yes.
And so, I read them. I don't know. I just was never super into romance, which is really funny if you know me now.
Yuri brain rot.
Because whenever we watch shows now, I'm just like, oh yeah, that's a Yuri ship, and that's a Yuri ship too, and like you're.
Bro, we are watching Witch at Atelier, and every time Coco and Tetia are standing next to each other, she starts freaking out.
I do not start freaking out. I'm just saying they have really good chemistry together.
Mm-hmm.
None of the other ships I see any chemistry. Maybe the manga readers are onto something. I don't know. All the other shippers are like, can just kill me right now, I guess. Yeah, so I guess I thought that romance was pretty lame. It was really funny because the only romantic thing that I was kind of into as a kid was this is gonna dig into my like deepest embarrassment. So I hope this gets you over like some more views than usual.
Oh boy.
Because this isn't even that like. Okay, so I was really into Lady and the Tramp, that Disney movie, growing up, and it was a romance. So I was like, I thought it was really cute, and I was like kind of obsessed with it for like the longest time, and I even wrote fan fiction of it when I was in 5th grade.
What? I never knew this about you. Lady and the Tramp fanfics? That's crazy.
Stop.
I can't believe that, actually.
Yeah, it wasn't even like my own fanfic. I was continuing a fanfic that like was permanently discontinued.
What? A fanfic of a fanfic?
Yes.
What?
And so I was like, Mom, can I register for this website called fanfiction.net? And my mom was like, is this website inappropriate?
Oh dear.
Because my mom would always have... She, like, looked up the freaking Caillou has cancer.
What?
Because she was like, I need to look at the mature section of this website. Because they're, like, you could sort by, like, age maturity on fanfiction.net back then. I think you still can.
Oh, I see.
Like, some of the stuff that showed up was, like, Caillou has cancer stories.
What the heck? Wait, are these like ironic or were people like genuine?
These were like creepypastas, basically.
Oh, creepypasta. Yeah, no, around that time, that makes sense. Yeah, that checks out.
This was like what, 2013?
Oh yeah, that's what. Yeah, creepypasta is running rampant around like that time and beforehand. I think more like in the 2000s.
Oh wait, no, this is 2011. This isn't even 2013.
Yeah, say literally like more like in the 2000s. I feel like creepypastas were like really, really big. Yeah, that's what I remember.
Yeah, so I like wrote this fan. It still exists. I never deleted it. And
what?
The little rookie knows how to find it because I used to, and you probably could find it at this point, but because I used to register for all my accounts under the same username, and you probably know what that username is. So if you look on fanfiction.net for that username, the only story for that account is a Lady and the Tramp fanfiction.
No way. That's crazy.
I don't know why I never deleted it. I mean, I've had some I'm like a writer, and this is like so...
Guys, be careful about your digital footprint. You know, one day in the future, you know, many, many years from now, 15 years from now, you know, people can go back and read your Lady and the Tramp fanfictions on fanfiction.net. Do you really want to be known as that person? Be careful, guys.
Okay, so... Yeah, that was, so, I, like, this kind of gets me into, like, so, I was also sort of half into, like, the furry community at the time, on Fur Affinity, and this my mom didn't know about, because I didn't feel like trying to explain to my mom what furries were, and I remember I was reading, like, a webcomic at the time, right, and, the webcomic, like, one of the comments was like, oh yeah, my character sounds like Rainbow Dash from My Little Pony. And I always liked, like, picturing what character sounded like. So I, like, was like, okay, this is just for science. I just need to investigate what this character sounds like by watching an episode of My Little Pony. And coincidentally, like, my parents did not have cable growing up, so I had to, like, deal with just having PBS for the most part. This is my first year kind of with cable, and I was like, oh, I could just record an episode of My Little Pony and watch it. And so I, like, ended up watching an episode, and I you know what's really funny? That episode was not even a really good episode, but I ended up really liking it. And I got really, really into it, and I started binge watching it online. There was this, like, pirating website that just had, like, all the episodes listed at the time, and there was also, like, this it was really easy to get into at the time, right? Because it was kind of like exploding. It was like kind of all over the internet, and it even had its own fanfiction site, which was not fanfiction.net, but fimfiction.net, which stood for Friendship is Magic Fiction.net, which you could read exclusively My Little Pony fanfiction from. So I was in pretty deep at this point. There was like YouTubers that I would follow, and there would be this website called Equestria Daily, okay? And so Equestria Daily was like it was like a newspaper, but for only My Little Pony related news. And like exclusively fan related news. And I would just refresh this website daily. Like I would go to it like it was like the newspaper. And I'm like, I need to check out what's going on and then get up to date with the MLP lore, I guess. And yeah. So there was at the time a pretty like vibrant sort of YouTuber community that would like talk about and discuss like different episodes of the show, right?
Yep.
And one of them was talking about a fan fiction that they really, really liked that shipped like two of the background characters. So like a huge part of the My Little Pony community was just coming up with like an totally expanding lore on these background characters that would appear in the backgrounds of episodes. Because the animators decided for some reason, and it makes sense to just include like these recurring background characters that like had like sort of pseudo personalities. It would be like, oh, that's the baker pony. That's the mail delivery pony.
Yeah, I think I remember watching like a Izzy's video on it and how I think like the fan culture helped shape like the background pony characters into like their personalities.
No,
And
it definitely did.
some of that like actually became canon. I think there was like an entire episode dedicated that was like fan service to all the background characters and like stuff.
Well, yeah, and all the fan ideas. Yes, that did actually happen. I think that was episode 100.
The fact that you know.
I watched a lot. I watched up to like what, season 7?
That's a lot of seasons.
Season 6.
What the heck?
We got to watch all of it sometime.
Absolutely not. There's too many seasons.
So I got really into that, and they recommended this fan fiction called University Days. And so University Days it was basically a Yuri shipping fanfic because most of the characters in My Little Pony are girls. So like almost all the shipping is just Yuri, it was just a Yuri paradise. Almost exclusively like 95% of all ships were like Yuri.
That does sound like your paradise, yeah.
I didn't realize it at the time, but I read it and I was like, oh my gosh, this Yuri is so relatable. And I was like, man, I wish I could be a lesbian, but that's impossible. ... Yeah, so I got really, really deep into this, okay? And so for a while, like, I was just exclusively reading My Little Pony fanfiction. So you know how I was living in Chicago up until I was in 7th grade, right?
Yes.
So when I moved, I made a lot of friends in 7th grade, and for the first time kind of in my life, I suddenly moved and the environment was totally different, and I was kind of really not used to it. Like I was living in Chicago and then I moved suddenly to kind of basically suburbia. And I didn't even have middle school. Like in Chicago, a lot of people don't know this, but you don't have middle school in Chicago. You just have K through 8. And so I was just kind of thrown it was really weird to me going to middle school, going to 8th grade, especially because I was actually in an academic center program. So I was actually taking high school classes in 7th grade. And so I was really bored in 8th grade because I already learned all the stuff that they were teaching in 8th grade. And so I was really lonely and really bored, right? And so I had a lot of time to myself, and I was trying to I was looking for connection, and I was really deep into the MLP community at the time, right?
Yes.
So this is Because this is like so stereotypical for like a lot of trans girls, and for I wouldn't even say like every trans girl goes through it. Like it's like it's more of a stereotype that applies to like a minority of trans girls than it does really to a majority. And I don't want to make it sound like every trans girl has done this. I got really into My Little Pony hypnosis back in like freshman year of high school. So let me explain what this is because it's going to sound really weird. This is a reason why I wasn't sure if I wanted to keep this in, okay? If it makes sense now.
Yeah.
But like, so a lot of people think like hypnosis is like fake, like they, like you think like the stage hypnotist thing, right?
Mm-hmm. Like your Django One Piece character.
Django One Piece. 1, 2, Django.
Yeah.
I recently watched One Piece, so now I know what that means.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I, like, it's not so much, like, hypnosis isn't really, like, a thing that you can get, like, other people to force you to do something. That's not really how hypnosis is supposed to work. It's more like, I was, like, reading about it on the website, and, yes, so there was a website dedicated to this, with a lot of very, very eggy people, in retrospect. If you don't know, egg, by the way, is the term that trans people use to refer to trans people that don't realize that they're trans, haven't realized that they're trans yet. So, like, describing someone as eggy just means that they, like, have behaviors of someone who would later become trans, if even if they're, like, kind of blissfully unaware of it. But yeah, so hypnosis, I like to think about as more of, like, a really deep guided meditation. So, like, it can't really force you to do anything you don't want to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, if, like, I can't just be like, oh, you're gonna, like, I can't be like, 1, 2, Django, and you're gonna, like, go rob a store or something if you don't want to. But what I can do is kind of, like, channel, like, your, like, desire to do things towards, like, manipulating or changing your mental state. And an interesting thing about it is because of that, you actually don't need someone else to do hypnosis on you, okay? Like, hypnosis can be done on yourself by yourself, which is called self-hypnosis. So I was really into I, like, was just kind of knee-deep into My Little Pony stuff at this point, and I, like, had so much connection with, like, the world and, like, the characters and everything. And at the time, my, like, parents and my family would always complain about, like, me being, like, having emotional outbursts and being angry. And one of the characters I thought would, like, I guess help me be less angry. So I was just like, well, I mean, and then I was like, well, what if this turns me into a girl? I don't want to do that. ... And I was like, and a lot of the people that were using it were like, well, I mean, if you don't want to be a girl, you don't have to. I mean, it will only do things if you want it to happen. So, like, hypothetically, it's perfectly safe, right? Because you're never going to be made to do anything that you don't already want to do. So I, like, was like, okay, let's try this out. And I, like, did it. So I wasn't expecting anything because, like, your results may vary when you do hypnosis depending on, like, how actually suggestible you are. Which, like, a lot of people equate, like, being suggestible with being, like, dumb, which is not quite the same thing. It's kind of varies person by person and just kind of is dependent on how much you are willing to have an open mind towards it. Like, so there are some people that are very suggestible, but they, like, because they, like, don't believe in hypnosis, it doesn't work on them. Like, it kind of is like, it's kind of like Santa Claus. He's only real if you believe in him. So I tried out so they had different files that you could try that were pre-recorded with scripts, right?
Yeah.
And I ended up trying one of them, and when I, like, came out of trance, I was like, heck, I'm a girl. And that was really, really confusing for me. And I like was kind of I was kind of like at that point in my life, I like after watching My Little Pony for a while, right? I like kind of realized like I was like a super autistic kid, so I like didn't fully understand like relationships and stuff, and it's like sounds really silly, but watching My Little Pony actually really helped with that. And I guess I realized I wanted to have like a better quality relationships in my life, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And so I this was a time of my life where I was like doing a lot of self-reflecting, and I even bought this book because my mom was like, "I mean, you're so emotionally unintelligent." So I bought this book called Emotional Intelligence at around the same time.
It's like buying a book for a kid that says emotional intelligence.
I bought it.
Oh, okay.
I bought it because I was like I need to be more emotionally intelligent.
I feel like just thinking about the idea of a parent buying a book for your child that just says emotional intelligence on it, I feel like that's really depressing.
That is actually very dystopian, but thankfully I was the one that bought it, not my mom. We were at I bought it from Barnes & Noble, actually. It's a really short book, and I actually never finished reading it. I still have it. Because it like made an impact on my life. Because a lot of it was just like, oh, you should just think about how you're feeling more often and like introspect about that. And I did that more often, and I was like, oh. And I thought a bit more about like the whole hypnosis situation that sort of happened. And I kind of was like, at that point, I was like really sort of confused about my gender because like I like knew about trans people growing up. It's really funny because like my first exposure to like trans people existing was on the news, actually. So when I was like,
remember.
Yeah, so when I was growing up, my parents like were like, you have to go to sleep at around 10, which makes sense because I was a kid. At 9 because I was a kid. But they were like, on Fridays, there would be a special report given by ABC that was called what was it called? 2020? Yeah, it's kind of like 60 Minutes, if you guys know what that is. It's like a hour long like news report sort of thing on like a single topic. And my mom was just like, well, Emmy, if you want, I want you to go to sleep at 9, but it's also good to know about what's going on in the world. So if you watch the news, then you can stay up an extra hour. And so I was like, okay, I guess I'll watch the news. Because I get to stay up an extra hour. And some of it was interesting. Some of it was just like, whatever. And so there was one of the reports was on I'm not even sure. I think she does identify as trans, but she was an intersex woman from Texas. And you guys can look up this story, but basically like she like got married to her husband, and her husband died in a fire because he was a firefighter, and she was about to get his inheritance. But at the time, gay marriage was illegal in Texas, at least at the time like that happened. And so his family found out, and they were super mad at her for like, I guess, being assigned male at birth, even though she was intersex. And they like, there was a huge amount of legal can of worms that like opened up because of that, and that's what led to the news report. It's more than like I think is worth discussing on this podcast, but that was like basically my first exposure to trans people. So I was just like, oh, so like being trans is like being intersex. So like if you're intersex, then sometimes like maybe like your sex is improperly assigned at birth, but that doesn't apply to non-intersex people. And so that was kind of like my main sort of exposure to it. I like sort of knew there was like other kinds of trans people out there too, but like like late 2000s, early 2010s internet definitely didn't have a lot on it, and like we definitely don't have as much like there was definitely not as much visibility or language around it, so I just didn't really think that like being trans was like a thing that I could see
possible thing that you could do, really, at that time.
Well, I thought it was a thing that you could do. Like I knew you could transition. Like, you could see a doctor and take hormones and stuff and get surgery. Like, I knew about all that just from reading Wikipedia articles, because I was a huge nerd as a kid and just spent hours and hours reading Wikipedia articles. And I still do. But I knew about all this, but I just couldn't see. I couldn't connect it as something I saw myself as being, if that makes sense. Like, because the depiction of a trans person in media for the longest time, and for a lot of history, like, there was like a very specific kind of like trans person that you'd have to be. Typically, like, you'd have to be straight, and a lot of it is just like very stereotypically feminine and a lot of other things, which is funny because I do enjoy my skirts, but I don't know, I didn't fully consider or see myself like doing that. It's just like, well, I want to, like, it's kind of like the thing where, like, oh, I'm really into science and I want to do like sciencey stuff, and I was like, when was the last time you heard of a scientist be trans? Like, never. Which is funny because there's a lot of them that we found out retroactively, right? So anyways, it just wasn't something I could picture myself as, like, all my, like, sort of qualities as sort of intersecting with what, like, my concept of a trans person was, if that makes sense. I think that's part of the reason why I wanted to do this podcast, was because I wanted to, like, I guess, discuss details of my life, even if they're a bit more embarrassing, if it, like, helps people, like, be like, oh yeah, I can relate to that or something.
Exactly. Yeah, I thought it was a very interesting idea.
Yeah, so at around this point, like, getting back into the whole hypnosis thing, I was, like, kind of confused. I made, like, some friends on that website, and we, like, eventually, like, this was, like, pre-Discord, so we were all using Skype, and, like, one of them suggested to me that, like, there's this really helpful place on the internet that they said helped them, which was a subreddit called Ask Transgender, or Ask Transgender, and I posted a question on there, like, kind of voicing my confusion, if that makes sense.
Okay.
And because I didn't really know much about being trans at the time, this is, like, other than, like, what I kind of already knew, and, like, basically, like, it's kind of the response that I feel like most people would give nowadays. Like, it's like, oh, well, we can't really tell if you're trans, but if you want to be a girl, you can. And so, I don't know, it kind of made me think about it a bit more, and I, like, kind of realized at that point that I probably was trans, and I did want to be a girl. I guess it's, like, another thing is, like, a lot of the narrative, I guess, around being trans growing up is, like, less around, like, wanting to be a girl versus, like, actually being one. It's, like, kind of fuzzy in the beginning because it's weird when you're not super in touch with your feelings and, like, you're kind of very emotionally kind of numb, and so, like, the first thing you really feel is, like, sort of happy about a thing. It's weird because, like, I was kind of emotionally numb before starting and realizing and thinking more about my feelings, and so I don't really feel like I experienced a lot of dysphoria, but I also didn't feel like I experienced a lot of anything, if that makes sense. And then sort of, like, there's a pretty common experience among trans people that, like, I wouldn't say is universal, but, like, affects, I mean, a lot of people have said, probably not even most people, but, like, when they, like, realize that they're trans, their dysphoria sort of gets stronger because they, like, sort of start thinking about things and realizing that certain things are, like, upsetting them that they, like, kind of were numb to before, if that makes sense. And so it kind of snowballed from kind of that point of realization, and I realized that I really wanted to transition, and after that, I guess, just a bunch of stuff happened, and here we are. So the short answer is ponies. The long answer is what I just gave you with involving romance novels in Yuri. I guess so. Yuri saved my life, guys. Yuri saved my life.
Yuri has the power to save lives and also make you lucky on Persona 5 polls, but sure.
I still remember that.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why I have such luck. You know, like it's a thing between Little Rookie and me and you that like I apparently have like really insane luck, but only in video games.
Only in video games, yes. In
And
real
maybe
life,
it's because
she's
I'm
very
obsessed with
unlucky.
Yeah, and so maybe it's because I'm obsessed with Yuri. The Yuri is like causing my video game luck stat to increase.
There's definitely got to be some correlation there. We're gonna have to get into the mathematics and the graphs of it, but I think that's for another time. I think let's move on to the next question, since that was a pretty long one, but I'm glad that you went into so much depth about it, because I think a lot of people will be very interested in hearing about your experience and your journey. But I think the next one would be sort of like in the midst of that journey, because when you realize these things about yourself, it's not exactly easy to tell other people. And so that's when you get into, I think you would call it masking, right?
Yeah, masking. Not like M-A-S-C, like not like masculinizing, but like masking, like putting on a mask. That's right. What the point of the mask is.
Okay. But yeah, so I'm curious about like some difficulties when it came to masking, and then when and how you decided to come out, which I think was to your friends first, or I think it was your family and then your friends shortly after. I forget exactly.
Oh, this is so. For reference, my family's not super supportive, and I don't really talk to them much anymore. I'm probably not gonna discuss too much about that during this podcast, mostly just because I'm just gonna keep that personal. But the short of it is, I actually came out to my mom first. As gay, but which is really funny because I am very, very Yuri now. Because I was like dating a guy online at the time, which is funny because she really later realized that she was a trans girl. But I came out to her first, and then like I think for a while I experimented with being like gender fluid, and then I realized I didn't really want to be gender fluid. I just wanted to be a girl all the time. But like, this is the funny part, because like they just didn't take it seriously, so I had to come out to them multiple times and they would just forget. Which is like probably not an experience that a lot of people have, but like I feel like coming out, like it's always like, it's funny because I did it multiple times. I like every time it's just like you like seize up. You can't really quite get it out of your mouth. Like, I feel like for sometimes I had to like a lot of time, like for stuff like this, I just have to like write it out and like give it to the person instead of like saying it out loud, if that makes sense. Like,
oh right, because you just get kind of choked up and your fear kind of halts you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So for a lot of people, I came out to them over text, literally, or like because I gave them something written because I couldn't say it. So yeah, my family I came out to multiple times. I think the first person I came out to that wasn't my family, and I was like really freaked out about coming out to people that wasn't my family because they were very unsupportive. And in high school, I was like very concerned about like it spreading around and getting back to my parents if I wasn't careful about it, because then that would make my parents really, really mad because they didn't want anyone to know about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think like the first person that I came out to with that, I'm trying to think, I think it was actually one of my teachers, like not one that I had at the moment, but one that I previously had, and one that I was helping out by like tutoring for them. And I told them about it, and they were pretty supportive, which is crazy because nowadays like there's like laws that like force them to like tell your parents, so that like definitely would not be possible now, especially in like Indiana where we were living at the time. But and they were pretty supportive, and yeah, I mean, and then like the second person I think I came out to was actually the Little Rookie, surprisingly enough. So there was this there's like a lot of hard parts about masking because like you're just so like there's just so much that like you don't want to like tell people because you're concerned over like, because my parents were not so accepting, so I was like always anxious about telling people because I was afraid of, I guess, like my parents are already, accepting me, am I gonna really ruin more parts of my social life? Like, like when you have less to lose, you don't want to like gamble as much, if that makes sense.
Right.
So I like was very cautious about coming out to anyone else, which is really, in hindsight, like, no one, I've actually never have had as much trouble with coming out to or telling anyone that I've been trans more than my parents, actually. So yeah. So I think I came out to Little Rookie. I can't remember how or when. I think I just sort of said it one day. This was kind of during a blur because my parents at the time kind of thought that like my queer internet friends were like corrupting my mind and like banned me from the internet. And so I was like really depressed at the time, but I think during that time I was like really depressed. I like decided to like tell the Little Rookie. And then I feel like I told either you or one of our friends, Daniel, next.
It's funny you mentioned this. I think I remember when you first told me, but I think I'm going to be honest, I don't think I knew what it meant to be trans at the time, so I don't think I really thought much of it the first time you told me.
That's really funny because I was like constantly calculating, like basically like I had this like just like the funny like board with the conspiracy board with the web. I was just like, okay, but this person knows this person, and if they spread the news here, then they could go here, which would go here, which will go back to my parents. Yeah, so for a while I like kept it to like just a few people that knew. Like this was pre everything, so I wasn't because my parents weren't supportive. I didn't transition in high school, even though I kind of wanted to start. I just kind of told people, and I felt weird about telling people that like I was trans if I wasn't doing anything too. That was also that felt weird to me. And it was also around that time where I was just like, oh, well, you don't need to use my pronouns. I'm not even transitioning. And yeah, I was like very, I was very sort of shy and sort of maximally agreeable to like try to not rock the boat because of my experience with my parents.
Right. And I think it was like around that time. I want to say it was like around junior or senior year was like the time when you mentioned it, but you never really, like you said, you never really did much to like act on it. Well, so it kind of confused me, I think, at the time, because I didn't really know what that meant. Especially since me, unlike you, I mean, we both spent a lot of time on the internet as a kid, but I also never had a phone, so I feel like my internet was like a little more in a bubble, I would say, for a while.
I didn't have a phone till junior year either, so.
I see. Maybe it's just I don't know, maybe it's just because I just had more restrictions.
Maybe you should have been next to furries.
Maybe, I don't know. Who knows?
The cat girls will get you. The cat girls.
Scary.
So I actually had a persona that I played at a time. Persona! That I played at the time. Being kind of autistic and odd like kid, I was just like, oh, well, obviously I can just play everything off as me being like socially inept and autistic. I also remember my outfits at the time. I was like, we always make fun of that.
Oh, your outfits. The plaid shirts.
No. So for reference, I exclusively wore jeans and plaid button-up shirts when I was in high school. And
that was like the fake identity that you created.
Yeah, that was the fake identity. So I even had a fake favorite color that I would tell people.
Oh yeah, I forgot. You told me about that.
Yeah, I would fabricate stuff that I would like to just like, I'd be like, no, I don't like My Little Pony. It was like, you see, I understand gay people, but because it is an intellectual sort of thing, like I understand it in an intellectual sort of way.
You kind of like you've been a nerd the whole time, but I feel like you made that like your main thing.
I
when
made
you were
that my
massing.
personality. I was just
Like,
like,
yeah,
I
you were
need...
just like blew it up. You know, you blew it up.
Yeah.
Like, you're
I
very
was
like
just-
stereotype nerd kind of like drew on the chalkboard, like everything.
Okay, I still love my chalkboards. Okay.
This is true. This is true.
I have one in my room right now.
She does. She does. I drew a Hatsune Miku on it like before we started. It was great.
Yeah. I have like equations on it sometimes whenever I'm working through math.
It's very funny. You'll sit me down for lectures on occasion on that chalkboard.
Oh yeah, I will. But yeah, I kind of played up like the nerd personality. I think a lot of it too was I was like very depressed, so I didn't want to show that to anyone, so I just played it off as being socially awkward when I was socially awkward because I was like kind of depressed and I hadn't talked to people in forever. And that kind of improved as I like kind of came out of my shell again, and my parents decided to stop going crazy about banning me from the internet. Which is also, I got around that, like, have I told you the story about how I got around my parents banning me from the internet?
I don't think so.
Okay, so this was like kind of like a war between my mom and me, because my mom was an IT professional, so she like was good with computers. If this was with anyone other than my mom, like none of their IP restrictions would have done a single thing. But because it was my mom, she knew what I was like kind of doing. So the first thing my mom did was she placed like a block on my computer outside of certain hours. And she also had the password to my computer. So I didn't even have the password to my own computer for the longest time. And I did not have the password to my computer until I went to college. So anytime I had to use my computer, I had to ask her to like log into my computer. And I did not have a phone at the time. I think like, I didn't have a phone at the time. So just my computer and our school's Chromebooks, which ended up being a godsend. Because I ended up using that a lot, but she just ended up blocking the Chromebook at home. But I figured out, like, the way she was, like, blocking my computer specifically was each computer has its own ID. So you can use, like, an app to change your computer's ID so that the router no longer can block it.
What? That's cool.
And then my mom must have realized this because she kept seeing new devices pop up on our router. And realized it was me spoofing my ID. And so she just kind of, I don't know what she did to like super block it, but I guess I think she might have set like a permanent IP regardless of what the ID of my computer was, and just force block the IP itself. So it was kind of over for a bit. I couldn't get around it except by using my Chromebook, except for using for this thing called Xfinity Wi-Fi. So Xfinity Wi-Fi is a hotspot that like some routers will put out in the Xfinity network. And if you have an Xfinity account, then you can log in and use their Wi-Fi as a hotspot. But you can also use it as a free trial for an hour. So you can use the same spoofing techniques to kind of continually keep getting free trials of Xfinity internet. Every once again, I think like it stopped working after a bit. So that was working for a little bit. And then I finally hit the jackpot of how to actually like crack my mom's, because so what she did, instead of just banning my Chromebook, because I kept finding ways around like all her restrictions, was she just changed the password on the router and just made it so that I didn't know. Okay. But I realized that because so your computer remembers the password of Wi-Fi networks if you click the remember button, right?
Yes.
So I was like, wait, if it remembers it, it has to be somewhere on the computer. So could I like find it? It turns out there is actually a way to get the password of a remembered password on a Windows computer. So I did some well, the problem is you need admin for this. So this is an issue, right? Because I don't have admin on that computer. I don't even know the password on that computer. But it turns out if your computer isn't encrypted, what you can do is if you have a Windows 10 installation disk and you put that into the computer, you can modify the computer's system files in such a way to change the password. So
I think this part of the story I actually do remember it. Go on, though.
Well, actually, I didn't even physically change the password. This is the funniest part. Because if I changed my password, my mom would have found out. So what you could do is, for those of you that have used Windows, you probably know about sticky keys, right? The most annoying thing Windows has ever invented. So you can actually replace the sticky keys program with launching a terminal by renaming the sticky keys program to something else and renaming the terminal to the sticky keys program. But you can only do this if you have a Windows 10 installation disk, because you can't do it while the computer is running unless you have admin. But you could just click repair computer on the disk and do that. And so I went in, replaced sticky keys with the command prompt, and no one knew the wiser because no one ever uses the command prompt. And what this lets you do is, before you're even logged into the computer, you can launch a terminal window on the login screen, which is really funny because on the login screen, you're not technically logged into a user. So you're technically the system user, which is actually even more powerful than the admin user. So by having a terminal on that screen, what you could do is you can actually see files that you're not normally able to see as any user, including the remembered password that my computer had. So I stole the password from my computer by hacking my own computer.
That's so funny.
It's even funnier because you can actually launch a taskbar without logging in. Like, you can launch programs as the system user, so you can actually use a web browser without actually logging in from the login screen. So for the longest time, I just had this, and you might be wondering, Emmy, how did you get a Windows 10 installation disk? And the answer is I downloaded it. But the other question is, Emmy, don't you need admin privileges to install it? And the answer is yes, but I tricked my mom into giving me admin privileges to install the disk, and I kept it in my room along with instructions on how to use it in a paper towel.
Yeah, I think I remember the Windows installation disk arc. I do actually remember this.
Yeah, so this was kind of funny because at school, whenever like people got bricked out of some computers they needed to get into, I'd just hack into them and break into them.
Yeah, you and that little disk, I remember.
Well, now it's a USB. I can still do it. I did it like as recently as a few months ago because there's a laptop at my work that people like found that they couldn't get into.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so that was a unpleasant arc of my life, and there was a lot of masking going on and stuff where I pretended to be a nerd. My favorite color was apparently orange, even though I really stereotypically really like pink. I think nowadays I kind of like a light blue sort of more, which is really funny because it's just like gray to you. I remember we were looking for my phone. My like the back of my phone is my favorite color actually. But like you said, it just looks like gray to
I thought
you.
it was gray. I thought it's been gray this whole time.
No, it's
Genuinely.
like the color. It's supposed to be like a slightly greener color of like the sky.
Yeah, and like if you showed me turquoise and blue and green and gray and like you just like showed them to me all at different times, it'd be like that could be anything. It could be any of those.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to make fun of you for being
No, that's fine.
again.
I've already made fun of you for Emberlyn. Go ahead and make fun of my color blindness. I'll be like Tarta. It's fine.
I mean, I had to go through the MLP hypnosis arc today, and the Lady in the Tramp fan fiction. I feel like we're at like, I don't feel like it can get any more embarrassing to me, but I feel like if I can get through this, nothing will ever embarrass me again.
That's fair, though. That's fair. So I guess like you've been talking about like the masking, like different little stories about that, but I guess more into like you decided. You kind of talked about coming out, but you didn't really say like when you made that decision to like how do you know when you're ready, especially like when it comes to your family and friends. Yeah,
I kind of slowly did it. I know a lot of people do it all at once, which is I think it's really cool if you have like I think it's probably easier if you have that like support network, like if your family supports you or if you have like a sibling that supports you or something, like someone you trust that you can count on like as a rock that'll like be there for you. I guess I feel like it's a lot easier, but I feel like a lot of it is just testing the waters and seeing like if you like maybe mentioning like a lot of people mentioning like trans stuff or like LGBT stuff around like people like you intend on coming out to see like how they might react to it. Though I feel like this can be like sort of hit or miss because there's like a lot of people that are okay with like trans or gay people as long as it's not like their own kid. So you do kind of have to be a bit more careful about it, but I mean, at least around like friends and other people, I think this works fine. That was like kind of my strategy for like coming out. So I like kind of incrementally kind of came out to more and more people as time went on. So my first year of college, wasn't out to anyone, and I was still like kind of what a lot of people call boy moding, kind of everywhere. And I want to say that like the first person that I told was one of my lab mates. So I got hired to work in a lab when I was in college, and one of the other people there was also one of my friends, and we would talk all the time. And I ended up telling him, and he was cool with it. And then I think I came out to I for some reason didn't trust the other person in the lab, mostly just because he was like more. He seemed less like the kind of person who would be cool with it. So I didn't tell him like for a long time, but I ended up like, I think there were some friends of the little rookie that I told next, that I still talk to. It was really tough though, because I was like basically the only trans girl, or trans person in general that like I knew of anywhere in my college, that like wasn't at like the queer student groups. Like in none of my circles, I knew any other person that was trans. And so there was like maybe like 90 people there, and none of those people were trans. So I was like, I don't know, it just felt really like difficult coming out with no one else being there. Apparently, apparently like me coming out actually helped other people come out, because there were other people in the engineering department that I knew and I still talk to that like later came out as trans, like, and I guess they said I helped them.
Aww.
Which is pretty cool. And so it was just like one person at a time until it was like half the people that I knew. And like they would always have to be careful about like dead naming me or gendering me around like other people, because they actually had to do that because like other people didn't know. And I was like, oh, but only use it around me or these people that know. But the list of people that knew just kept growing, so you like anyone that knew had to keep track of the people that like knew me as like not my dead name and as Emmy. And I think at a certain point, like when enough people knew, that was like when I was just like, you know what, this is getting too hard for all of us. I feel like I'm just going to come out to everyone. And then a global pandemic happened. We all went home. Well, actually it happened in the other order. But the pandemic happened and I was at home, and I think like, I guess I decided before I went back to college. So this is like my third year of college. The pandemic was like this pandemic was like my second and third year of college. And when I decided to go back during my like fourth year of college, like just before then, I decided to like just come out to everyone in our group chat. So there's this group chat that like everyone in my year in our department was in, which is like 30 people, which like isn't that many for a department. So I just came out to all of them, and all of them were pretty supportive. I mean, at least anyone that didn't really speak up. So that was pretty cool. And that was kind of how I came out to kind of everyone. And ever since then, I've been out to everyone. For a lot of people, at least that I've met, they just kind of come out to everyone at once. Whereas to me, I was just like, oh, I'll like kind of drip feed people. And like, I'm always like very cautious about it. Mm-hmm. I feel like also I'm just like always very nervous about standing out. Even as a kid, I would be like very socially anxious about like doing stuff that would like make me look weird. I think that was another barrier to like feeling like I was trans, because being trans is always seen as like something that's weird or not normal. Right. And I guess it's not like normal in the sense that like most people aren't trans, but it's like a thing that you can be that doesn't make you necessarily weird, like in the sense that like most people don't have ADHD, but like having ADHD or having autism or like whatever, or like having red hair doesn't make you weird. It just makes you like, you know, just like not the typical. If that makes sense.
Yeah, unless your name is Schmitty, then you are weird. I mean, keep going. Sorry.
Yeah, Schmitty is weird, guys. I don't know that much about Schmitty other than like what Zeez talks about. I know he cooks, and
He
he
does
complimented
cook.
some of my cooking.
He does cook. He does cook. All right, keep going though. Sorry, I had to just quick shade at Schmitty real quick.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like that's everything. I feel like I don't really. I feel like nowadays it's like different because I've been trying more recently to go stealth. That's kind of like when you kind of just try to pass and not tell people you're trans. At least for people in public, I still feel like I tell people that I know, but like I feel like if it makes sense, I've come out less to like different people, mostly just because I don't want people to like treat me differently because I'm trans, like out in public.
Right. I think briefly before we kind of get into that passing discussion, because I think that's a great segue. I did want to have your thoughts on a quick subject because I think I remember when you officially like came out, and I think like you were very descriptive because I think the very first time you ever told me, I wasn't really sure what it meant. I just wasn't educated on it. And I think later on, after you kind of discussed and told me about it, I remember telling you, okay, well, I'm just not going to treat you any different. Because I thought, like, at the time, I thought that'd be, like, the best way to make you feel safe. It's just like, oh, well, nothing will change between us, you know? Like, we'll still be pals. And I remember you saying, like, at first you were okay with that. Like, oh, yeah, that's fine. But I remember you saying that, like, later on, you were more honest and said, like, yeah, I didn't want you to just treat me the same. I did want you to, like, see me differently, you know? I don't know if I'm describing that in the best way, but like
No, yeah. I feel like I want to be treated like as Emmy still, like, but I like obviously my gender has changed, so I'd want to be like treated based on like how you would treat any other girl, if that makes sense. Like no,
right.
And like if that was like kind of what I was getting at, like.
Right.
I don't want you to just be like nothing has changed. I'm still just gonna treat you as like a guy from before. If like I think like when people say that, like in retrospect, I think like they mean I'm still gonna treat you as you.
Right.
I don't know.
Right.
I guess I was just kind of looking for validation at that time, which is probably why I said that. It's been a hot moment.
It was more just like a thing I wanted to bring up because I know there's a lot of allies out there that sometimes don't know what to do. Like they want to be helpful, they want to be supportive, but they also are like, you know, they're kind of tiptoeing around things maybe because they don't want to hurt the person that they care about. So I just wanted to like get your opinion on like that. Obviously, again, I know it's completely different for each person, but just something that I wanted to throw out there. I was curious about.
I feel like the best way, honestly, like what I really wanted when I came out was for people to like want to get to re-know me, because I was like also kind of getting to re-know myself, if that makes sense. It was like kind of the point of transitioning, right, is to change, and I feel like having an openness to like understand like what has changed versus what hasn't, and it's going to be different person to person, as people like is coming out and like coming and like having your egg crack, which is like the process of realizing that you're trans. Like you sort of rediscover and reinvent kind of yourself, because that's kind of the process of transitioning in general, is like trying out stuff and seeing what fits. I mean, there's going to be like cringe phases that like a lot of us go into, probably because we didn't get to be like the gender that we wanted to be.
Right, you know,
up.
to be cringe is to be free, and when you're finally free, you're gonna be a little cringe sometimes, you know?
Yeah, exactly. So like there is this thing that a lot of trans girls do go through. It's called like the pink phase, where like, you know how like a lot of girls when they're younger they have like the princess phase where like everything is like princessy. Like it's kind of like that. For a lot of trans girls. I say a lot, I don't mean most. I mean just like a good number. So yeah, and I feel like trans guys have like something similar where they like I don't want to speak for trans guys because I don't know that much about them. I've heard about it, but like there is this like phase where you're like kind of like compensating or like wanting to assert your new gender more, or like are still trying on things. So like there is going to be like that awkward phase. and it's the same like with honestly, it's like almost analogous to like growing out your hair, because at the time like I was growing out my hair, there's going to be like that weird awkward phase where your hair is like that mid length, and but I feel like that's just like, part of transitioning in general, is like you're going to try on new things and see what does fit and then what doesn't. And my fashion has thankfully gotten a lot better than just pink pink shirts or pink sweaters that I would wear.
I think you said something that I really enjoyed was like the fact of getting to relearn somebody alongside them relearning themselves. I actually didn't really consider that before, but it actually kind of puts more meaning into like that thing that you mentioned a long time ago that really stuck with me about how, you don't want just nothing to change, but you want like, I guess in terms of the support and friendship, you don't want the change, but in terms of like accepting the change that you're going to go through and like allowing you to feel free to go through said changes, I think is like more what you were getting at. And I find that to be very, I think, important. I really like the way that you brought that up.
I kind of like thinking about it like growing together. Like you're like a couple different plants and you're like growing with each other. Like I want you to like change with me, if that makes sense. Like I want our relationship to adapt to this new dynamic. I want the relationship to stay, and I want like us to be amicable and have like a lot of things that we had before. But I also want to be able to transition and like see how that like and have that like ripple out socially, because that's kind of what I want in my life.
I gotcha.
At least that's how I would phrase things. Indeed. Obviously, for each trans person is unique. So, I mean, ask the trans person in question, see how you can best support them, and have an open mind and grow with them. I guess like kind of flow with what they need and want.
Exactly. I like that. I guess to continue that segue that we were talking earlier, you were talking about, passing without having to... I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Passing is referred to people identifying you without knowing you as the gender that you want to be, without you having to, like, describe it or, like, whatnot. It's just natural, right?
Yeah, I think, like, passing is mostly, like, a social thing, like... If you're just in, like, let's just say I move to a new city and I don't tell anyone I'm trans, and, like, everyone just thinks I'm a girl, that would be, like, I guess what passing is.
I see.
Yeah.
And I guess,
at least
like,
that's how I consider it.
I guess next would be, like, what are some of the difficulties and, I guess, struggles that, I guess, kind of go through? I guess there's a lot of, like, self-consciousness there. I do remember one specific event when we were together on a train in Chicago where...
Oh my god, that thing has stuck around in my memory for so long, you have no idea.
Yeah, if you want to talk about that, you can feel free to, but...
I mean, so the opposite of passing is getting clocked, where people realize that you're trans, and on the train, I got clocked by people who really, I guess, didn't like trans people, and they loudly were proclaiming it, to the point of disturbing, like, other passengers on the train, and I just kind of ignored them because I didn't really know what to do.
Yeah, I remember feeling really bad because I didn't want to cause a scene, but I was so angry. Oh my gosh, I remember like I was seething.
Yeah, it's weird. I get it more nowadays, like passively, where people just like ask. Like I think the most recent thing, like a lot of it is just voice nowadays, and I've been working a lot on it. And I'm trying my best to use it during this podcast. I was kind of out of practice for a bit due to I recently had my GCS, which is like your bottom surgery, and so I was like really out of it for a bit, and it like the recovery process had been taking up time and getting used to like self-care afterwards. I just didn't have vocal practice time, so.
I heard a very distinct lack of heat from fire from heats recently.
So for those of you that don't know, that's like a phrase that people use to like calibrate and practice their voice. And I'll use that to like warm up in the morning, like, or when I'm doing sort of exercises at night or practicing. I'll go like heat from fire, fire from heat. So yeah, I feel like my voice is probably the main thing. So the most recent experience that I remember was like there was this thing that happened at my university at UW. The I don't remember if it was just our department or other. No, it was other engineering departments, but it was like all the engineering departments. Like we get asked a lot for visitors or like kids wanting to come in and like know about what's like, I guess, being a scientist and doing science at the university looks like, right?
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, so like the university decided instead of having like a bunch of kids come in randomly, we're just gonna have one or a few days a year where we're just gonna put on like a big event and show kids like basically what science looks like. And when I say kids, I mean like 4th through 8th grade.
Oh, okay, so gotcha.
I guess if you're like in 8th grade, you're probably like going to be mad at me that I just called you a kid. Sorry. My lab does volunteering for it, and there's a couple different things that you can do. They encourage you to volunteer for your lab's sort of panel if they were hosting one, or they encourage you to volunteer to help support event staff. So one of the days I volunteered to like greet people coming in and just direct them along the path to get to the right place, because it's like a really long walk from the parking area to the to where the actual like engineering buildings and activities are hosted. So I was there, and this was like a few weeks ago. I was still in the midst of recovering and still am, and so I just didn't bother with my voice. I was just using my mask voice, and I guess like some kids like realized that like I looked pretty like I looked like a girl, but I sounded like a guy, and they didn't make any word of it at the time. But after my shift ended, I had a class that I actually teach at the university. It's part of my job as like a PhD student. You like sometimes have to teach classes, depending on like if you're getting money from other sources or not. But so I had to rush to teach my class because I like had a class I was teaching, and I was like running up these stairs because there was a huge hill with stairs on it that like led up the main path that kids were walking up towards. And on my way there, I was like just rushing past people. One of the kids were like, "Are you a guy or a girl?" And what's really funny is I was in such a hurry, and I just didn't I think I heard it as something else, and I don't know, maybe I think I heard like, "Are you a volunteer or something?" I don't even know, that's like not even close. And I just said, "Yeah." And I like, and then I like ran off, and then like a minute later I reprocessed it and I was like, "Oh, they were asking me if I was a guy or a girl." And I guess that was like the most recent experience. I feel like honestly, the main difficulties with passing sometimes, like, outside of voice is, like, I always feel very self-conscious about my shoulders. Like, and the difficulties with passing will, like, vary depending on, like, the person and their genetics and, like, when they transitioned. Obviously, if you transitioned, like, as a kid before you went through puberty, you're not going to have a lot of these issues. But if you transitioned like after puberty or after your voice drops, like you're going to have to deal with voice training. Some people's hip bones don't like fully fuse like at like 18. So if they start transitioning at 18, their like hips do widen a bit, at least for like trans girls. I was unfortunately not super blessed with this, at least to my knowledge. I do want to kind of transition into talking about this point that like
that was really funny. That was so funny. Oh my goodness, that was hilarious.
Yeah, yeah. I need to revoke my girl license so I can make dad jokes.
Yep.
Yeah. So I feel like one of the big things, right? That a lot of people don't realize, I guess, transitioning is, and this is sort of a sensitive topic because there's like a lot of people that like talk about how being trans is like the same as having anorexia, and it definitely isn't. But at the same time, you can be trans and struggle with body image issues, and a lot of trans people I know uh, have had like struggles with them. I definitely have had them. I didn't even realize like I like made a joke at one point. I was like, "Wow, I transitioned to be a girl, and I also got girl body image issues with it." But it is definitely a thing that like can sort of happen. Like a lot of like some trans people will very much obsess over their like image and like kind of see imperfections that like a lot of other trans people are like, what are you talking about? Like, you look great. Like, and I feel like as a trans person, like, especially during transitioning and like the pressure to like pass so like people don't treat you differently, I feel like a lot of people become very critical of themselves, and this can develop into a very unhealthy image of yourself and your own body. And I feel like I'm still learning a lot of the times, like, kind of be nicer to myself internally. Like, this is something that like I still struggle with a lot, but I guess I wanted to talk about it and bring it up just since I haven't heard too many people talk about it before.
I see. It's difficult for me to particularly ask about something like that. Is I feel like it's very hard to understand. It also comes down to like the way you individually perceive yourself. But I guess I can see where like that difficulty really comes in, especially when a lot of it is probably just in your own head, maybe?
It is a lot of the time. Like, there are days definitely that like I feel a lot better about myself, and I'll be literally wearing the exact same thing. And there will be days where I feel a lot worse about myself. And I feel like I've become almost very used to just being very critical of myself. Like, I would always like, and this is a very unhealthy habit that I developed like during transition, where I like would attribute like anyone who didn't gender me correctly as me not performing my gender like enough. So I would like feel like it was my fault. And so I became like, and this was really bad like a couple years ago, even before we moved in together. But I like became like almost like hypercritical of my own appearance and just trying to like pick out things that like maybe anyone could perceive as like a reason to like not gender me correctly, which isn't really even how people gender other people. Like, most people like just kind of base it off of like one or two different things, as I kind of noticed. Like, if you don't talk, it's like mostly just based on like, honestly, like a lot of the time it will be based on whether I'm wearing a skirt, which is like very depressing because I feel like I get gendered like correctly 50% of the time if I'm wearing pants, and 100% of the time if I'm wearing a skirt. And one of my friends pointed this out. It's possible that a reason for this is that we live in Seattle, and there's a lot more queer people and gender non-conforming people in Seattle, so people have like wider definitions of what they see as masculine or feminine in Seattle than elsewhere. But yeah, I don't know. I guess maybe Seattle needs to be less woke so I can pass better.
Talk about Seattle less woke. Oh boy.
Yeah, I feel like it's definitely like, in terms of difficulties, I feel like those are the main ones that I've really come across. There's always been people. There was this one time I remember in the train station. I was like walking. I was trying to get back to work after like running some errands, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there was this group of like elderly Chinese folks, and they like were like commenting about like basically me being trans negatively. They were just like, "Oh, you can't even tell if people are like men or women anymore." And I was just like, I'm so sad and depressed that I can understand this because they were speaking in Chinese.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. I don't think I have much more to say on the whole passing difficulties thing. I mean, it did definitely help a lot to like take hormones and stuff. And post like surgery for some things got a lot easier in some ways. I feel like voice is a lot more of a major component than like I like it originally thought for passing. Because a lot of people will just gender you completely based on your voice, regardless of what you're wearing, which is kind of really interesting, I guess.
I guess a small question that I would have, and I guess this is more to help people maybe who are also, going through similar journeys, is, you were talking about how day by day it really just depends on how you feel. You can be wearing the same thing, and then depending on like how you feel, you'll be good one day or worse the next. And so I feel like at least there are times when you've come home and you've been depressed about like maybe like the way you look because of, I think I remember that you talked about the people on the train, but a lot of it is like, you're very critical on yourself, but then some days you're nicer to yourself and you feel great and you feel more confident. But then I feel like it really becomes difficult when, or maybe even better when people, are receptive to your identity, I guess I should say. And
yeah.
Like, because I remember there's been times when we went out to that cafe and there was that really nice lady who was very kind to you. I think she said, "Oh, you look very beautiful," or something like that, and like, that made you feel great and like raise your confidence. And then stuff like that train it'll like lower it. So I guess for people that are, it's very difficult because you can see yourself one way, but it's very difficult to accept what other people think of you. And so I guess it's like, what sort of advice do you really have to people maybe in a similar situation, but maybe don't have as much inner confidence yet?
I honestly I don't actually have any personal advice, so I'm just gonna, it's like, because I'm still working on it a lot myself, but there is like an older trans person that I talk to a lot that is that gives me advice. And so I feel like I'm going to give their advice to you guys. I'm going to pass along some super older trans person wisdom. And kind of like, I guess what they kind of said is like, I guess maybe this isn't as useful. I feel like they kind of talked about it like, after you reach a certain age, and you're around like and you're like, because you've like developed and cultivated relationships of people that care about you, like they usually talk to me and they go like, well, anyone who would say bad things about you isn't really someone who you would keep around anyways. And we care about the people who actually like we want to keep in our lives. And I don't know, I like usually like to like think about it like that whenever I get like, like sort of negative comments in the world. And I try to think about, the positive stuff from my friends and the people who do support me and who I do want in my life.
I see. That's definitely a really good way of looking at it, which I guess can come into, another decent segue with like the people on the train and whatnot. But what are some frustrating misconceptions or misinformation out there about trans people? I know there's probably a ton, but like maybe just list off a few that you think that people should maybe know a little bit better, or maybe even for like us that are less educated, that we could be better allies to our friends.
Yeah. Like a lot of people know surprisingly little about like what hormones do to you. Like it's actually like blows my mind how little some people know about what hormones do to you.
To be
like,
fair, unless you really look into it, you never really get told. They don't really like.
Yeah, it makes sense. Like it makes sense. Like as a person,
like I didn't know until you told me. To be fair, so I was in that same boat.
It makes sense. Maybe it's just because I'm such a nerd. Like I'm just like, oh yeah, that's totally logical that like hormones would do that to you. That's exactly what the effect of estrogen on your body would be.
Right. It's like very common sense once you learn about it, but you don't really like think about it, until you like actually look into it. But it's like it actually is just common sense when you hear about it.
Well, yeah, it's just like, and these are from people that like aren't like transphobic or anything, or aren't like negative about trans people, or like they just don't know about transitioning. And like, I just feel like it, for me, even before I transitioned, it was like so common sense. I'm like, how do people just not know this? Because, so for example, we went to a wedding recently, right? And so the groom actually asked me if I could get pregnant now that I had surgery, which that's not how it works. um, so uterus transplants don't exist as far as we know. So that's not how it works. A lot of people also don't know that like trans people just like estrogen makes you grow breasts. Like a lot of people just assume that like every trans woman has like a breast implant, which some do, but most of us don't. And I don't know. There's like people who also think that estrogen makes your voice higher, which also that's not how it works. Like, I don't know. It's just like, I feel like I wish.
I'm sure you'd be happy if it did, though.
Oh, I would be ecstatic if I did not need to do either voice training or surgery to make your voice like more feminine. Like, absolutely. I would eat that stuff in a cake if I would like shove that into a cake and eat it, like mouthfuls of it if I had it. But yeah, I mean, like, just like.
I'm just thinking about like the freaking estrogen burger woke meme. We went, go into the daily episode. Seattle. We wake up, and we eat like woke burger or something. I forget what it was. It was very funny.
Oh yeah,
we eat like
the
woke salad.
No, it was
it
like
an
estrogen sandwich.
It was estrogen. There was one that was like, was it estrogen cake with like, or it was like woke cake with estrogen sprinkles? I forget. It was something really funny like that. I can't remember. It was really silly.
Funny because you actually can sprinkle estrogen like that. So like estrogen is like a blue pill, and like it's very powdery. So like if you can actually like grind it into like a blue powder, and you could like sprinkle it on things.
Huh.
It's funny. It's supposed to be dissolvable under your tongue. Like you're supposed to be able to take it and it's supposed to dissolve under your tongue. Or
now
I'm
thinking about the Matrix thing you told me about, but that's an aside, obviously.
Oh yeah, like the blue pill, red pill thing.
Yeah, the blue pill, red pill, yeah, from the Matrix.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know this. Like the blue pill, red pill is supposed to be being trans. Though at the time, estrogen wasn't a blue pill; it was a red pill. So it's kind of reversed.
Yeah. But I remember you said like the creator came out and talked about it or something, right?
The creators, they're actually two trans sisters, and they both came out, and they talked about how the Matrix was kind of like an allegory for being trans, and how like taking the red pill was supposed to be like taking estrogen, because at the time, estrogen came in a red pill. This was like a very old form of estrogen that like is not as good as what we have today. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But like, so yeah, I think like, I don't know, like a lot of people tend to like, I feel like also like for some reason people tend to think that like estrogen or hormones just do nothing to you, or like they like make your bones turn to ash and give you cancer and destroy you. Like or like, I don't know. I just feel like a lot of people just like, it literally just, I guess, like gives you the puberty of the opposite sex. So like basically, this is like the funny meme in the trans community, like where like the hobbits go like, well, sure, we've had one breakfast, but a second breakfast, and it's like a second puberty.
That's funny.
But yeah, I mean, like I feel like when you first start transitioning and your hormone levels are like just crazy, you like get very like, oh my gosh, I cried so much after taking estrogen when I was like kind of going through my second puberty. Because I would just like, I was under a lot of stress at the time. So I would just like wake up in the middle of the night crying, which is kind of sad, but I'm like, I feel much better now. But yeah, I feel like for a lot of people don't realize that. And it's kind of funny, but it's also very intuitive. You just switch the puberty basically. And that's basically what it is. I feel like another big misconception about being trans, aside from like the medical stuff, right, is, well, I feel like the main problem with this is like media portrayals, right? Like I feel like for trans girls, like there was for the longest time a very specific media portrayal about being a trans girl, and there's not like different kinds that like you're not going to see anyone or hear about any of like the like butch lesbian trans girls that exist out there that are more tomboyish. But they do exist, and I feel like if people knew about them, I feel like they'd have like a wider perception on like who they could be or what being trans is, because it's not like, I feel like for a lot of people being trans feels like fitting into stereotypes when it's not necessarily that. Like there's as many different types of trans people as there are people. Yeah. I don't know if there's any other frustrating, like I could go into like hours and hours about all the misinformation around on trans people and like puberty blockers and stuff. But I don't feel like I really want to do that, and there's way better videos on YouTube that do.
I was just about to say, where for people that want to know more, since we obviously are going to go into everything here, what's a good place where we can look, maybe to keep ourselves educated and avoid misinformation?
Yeah, so there is this website that I've seen linked a lot, called genderdysphoria.fyi, and it's a community sort of maintained resource. It's not like official, or I mean, it's not like an official health resource or anything. It's just like a bunch of trans people coming together and making something for the community.
Dare I say open source?
I mean, it literally is. There's a GitHub link on there.
Oh, snap.
Basically, like, it's constantly being updated, and I don't want to make it feel... I'm always afraid about providing resources like this, because I don't want to make it feel like if there's something wrong in there, now it's, like, my fault, because I didn't, like, go through and read all 22 pages of the Gender Dysphoria Bible.
That is fair, yeah.
I've read through some of it. It's changed a lot since the last time I read through it. So, yeah. And it's being updated constantly, so yeah. But I feel like that's a pretty good resource for understanding, like, you know, like, being trans and the history of it, a brief history of it, different dimensions of it. They talk about different kinds of dysphoria. There's, like, a page on, like, am I trans? Yeah.
I gotcha.
There's even stuff about, like, second puberty. So, yeah, if you ever needed your information on that. I actually think it's kind of fascinating scientifically, like, just how flexible the human body is, but, yeah.
I gotcha. I think that actually provides a really good segue, since we're talking about, like, countering misinformation. So the next question is, what is the best way to support a friend coming out? Again, obviously, staying informed is probably a big one, which we talked a little bit about, but what are some of the things that you personally think would be best, and maybe just from your own experiences as well?
I feel like even before coming out, right, like, there's this thing in the trans community, right, I've heard that, I don't know how, like, spread around this is, and this is kind of more internet lingo, right, but there's this thing called the Prime Egg Directive that I've heard.
What?
The Prime Egg Directive.
I see. Well, we talked about the eggs, which we know of now, but...
Yeah, so eggs are people that don't know they're trans. So the Prime Egg Directive is, even if you highly suspect...
It's so silly out of context. I'm sorry, I can't.
It's so
silly out of context.
It's the idea that even if you think that someone is an egg, you shouldn't tell them that they are. Like, they need to, like, figure it out kind of on their own, like, kind of like how a chick needs to, like, you know, crack its own egg when it's, like, hatching.
Ah, I see.
Yeah. But I mean, it kind of comes into, like, just giving people space, not rushing people, kind of understanding, I feel like, where they are and where their support networks are in their life, learning about it, trying not like assuming things about them just because they are trans. I don't know, just like having conversations and talking with them, I feel like is very, very important. Obviously, also, this is going to look... I'm giving very general information here. This is going to look very different for, like, a 13-year-old that, like, has very unsupportive parents versus, like, a 19-year-old in college who's, like, coming out to you as the only person that they know, right? But, I mean, generally, like, you want to just kind of hear them out, listen to them, be a, like... Especially, like, if there's, like, not a lot of other people that they can talk to about it, you want to, like, Like I like for a lot of people, I wish like like if like you were like the one of the few people like they would like I'd have to I'm constantly like explaining like egg and other trans terms. It'd be cool like if you like I guess explored an interface a bit with the community if you really wanted to be super supportive to like and if you're that kind of like support person for that one other person is learn about kind of the kind of networks that they're in the trans community and try to like I guess come a little bit into their world if that makes sense.
I see.
I mean, it could be really simple sometimes, honestly, in terms outside of support, like it could be helping them find clothes if they want like for a trans person. Um it can be like help it can be like, I don't know, doing some gender affirming stuff with them. I know a lot of trans girls like talk about like painting their nails with one of their friends and feeling really happy about that after. Yeah, I mean it depends on the person and like there's gonna be I wish I knew more about trans guys. I like am very like I am myself not super like versed in that area and like what like specifically like they need. I know like in terms of like trans guys, a lot of them will like get binders coming out or helping them find one just so they can like bind safely because doing it with like bandages can be really harmful. But like I mean that's part of like in terms of like finding like gender affirming clothes and stuff with them. But yeah, I mean honestly like it'd be honestly like if when I first came out and someone like was like let's go clothes shopping, we need to get you some new clothes, that would be like really awesome actually, and I would have been really happy about that. So honestly just like doing stuff like that, like making sure that they know that they're seen, you see them, and you're like kind of like growing along with them in their transition.
I see. I guess it kind of comes back to that moment we talked about earlier about how the relationship can evolve.
Yeah.
I guess let's move on to our next question, which I feel like this one is a little bit more lighthearted, but why is Pride, and I guess by extension Pride Month, so important?
Yeah, I think like for me, um like I view Pride right as a lot more than just the parade and stuff. I view Pride as like sort of a celebration of kind of how far queer people really have come. It's always a nice time to like learn more about queer history and kind of the history of the queer movement and like just kind of like where we've been and how we've gotten to where we are now. I think like a celebration is like always a really important part of that, especially in like a lot of places and for a lot of people that have been told in their lives that they should be ashamed of who they are. Like I think being able to celebrate that can be really liberating for a lot of people, and I think like doing it in a way that makes sense for you, whether it be like a parade, like having a cake and celebrating with some friends, and or whatever it might look like for you, is like valid. I've been to like a few parades at this point. I talked about like going to Pride in Indianapolis. I've been to one in Seattle like a few years ago, and I nowadays I might go depending on like if I have friends. I feel like parades are just not really, and loud things just super aren't my thing. But like if I have friends and I'm spending time with them, I might go. In terms of like the history and stuff, I did want to talk a bit more about. I feel like a lot of like because it's not really taught a lot in a lot of schools, or like for a lot of people, like a lot of younger queer people, especially like even me, like who is like read up on a lot of this stuff. Just I didn't really understand or know a lot of the like history of what like the queer movement looked like even like 10 or 20 years ago, and like learning a bit about like what I guess life looked like and like what our like elder queers like went through, I think really was, I guess, gave me a lot of perspective, but also gave me hope for the future, in terms of like what people have been able to like get through and find community in despite everything that like went on in the past. I don't know if I can think of anything else that comes to mind. I feel like that's what Pride is to me for the most part.
I feel like we have some really good answers here. Definitely some good answers. Which I guess would leave us at the final question that we have here. And this one's more
Woo!
of a, I guess it's also pretty of a bit of a fun one that we can end off with. And I think we touched upon it a little bit earlier, but how can we get people to be more open-minded about the LGBTQ, pride, etc.?
I've become so ambivalent about this issue recently because of everything that's going on, like, especially because, like, with my parents, I feel like I've, like, talked to them, like, a billion different ways about, like, explaining to them being trans, and, like, they don't really get it. I feel like
There's like a lot of dead ends that aren't worth pursuing at times, right?
I feel like there are a lot of dead ends, and I'm not saying that, like, they're permanently, like, there are people that, like, whose minds can't be changed. I'm just saying that, like, for, like, you might not be that person, you might not be the right person, or it might not be the right time. But honestly, like, what I found, honestly, is just being out is, like, a really is honestly one of the most effective ways to get people to be more open-minded, mostly just because if they know a queer person, like, as, like, a person that they know, it's a lot harder for them to, like, you know, like, be closed-minded about it, because then they have to, like, do it with someone they know versus some anonymous person. So I feel like visibility is a very important part of that, like, seeing, like, queer people out and about and just living normal lives, which is kind of part of the reason why I am kind of out to a lot of people. I feel like it's going to be different for a lot of different people depending on, like, the relative security of their social situation and whether or not it would be safe for them to do so. So it's not something I feel like I want to advocate for everyone. I feel like for stuff that allies can do in terms of, like, getting people to be more open-minded, I feel like it does really help to stand up when you see different people say things about queer people that, like, are derogatory, and stand and tell them that, like, you're not okay with that. Because especially as a trans person, like, there's a lot of, like, stuff going on out there, and trans people are a really, really small part of, like, society. And so, like, there can be, like, one trans person that's, like, super adamant and, like, super passionate about, like, helping people be more open-minded, and that, like, probably would get, like, canceled out by, like, 20 ordinary people that, like, don't know much about trans people, or, like, are negative about them. And I feel like that's why being an ally and, like, speaking up when you can is, like, super important, just because of that. Like, it really helps take that, like, sense of, like, there is, like, definitely, like, I feel like for a lot of trans people, just this, like, feeling of, and a lot of queer people in general, just this, like, feeling of exhaustion, that, like, you're constantly, like, you constantly feel like you have to be an advocate for yourself. And so, like, if you are someone who supports trans people, doing that and being an advocate is honestly already a really great thing, mostly just because trans people are constantly having to do that, and it, like, kind of relieves some of that pressure off of us.
I see.
I don't know if I can think of anything else that comes to mind. Obviously, you're not going to, like, debate someone out of, like, being, like, not open-minded. This is not something I can recommend.
Yeah.
I feel like, if someone is very closed-minded about it, right, like, outside of letting them know that you're not okay with it, I don't really feel like a lot of the time it's going to be, like, you're going to, like, debate them out of it. I do think, like, being around just people that are supportive, that are more vocal about their support, or being around other queer people and normalizing it is, like, probably the best that we can do at this point, outside of, like, you know, outside of what was I going to say? Honestly, just that is the kind of, like, the best that we can do, I feel like, right now.
I gotcha. I mean, I figure, like, that was probably going to be along the lines of what it would be, but yeah, I think that's our last question.
Yay! We made it.
We did make it, but I guess
and we also made a very long one.
That is true. My last little question is, like,
Oh, you have a
I mean,
secret
I
one.
just kind of came up with all these questions randomly, but I'm curious, was there anything that you wanted to briefly discuss that you didn't feel like you had the opportunity, or maybe something you felt that was left out, or something that feels very important, or any final thoughts?
I can't think of anything that comes to mind currently. I feel like we've went through a lot of stuff, so if we did have something, I can't really recall at this moment. I don't know. Happy Gay Month, people.
Happy Pride Month, happy Rainbow, happy Skittle, happy Leprechaun. Leprechauns aren't LGBTQ, even though with the rainbows, right? Not really.
Not really. Sadly, not a trans icon. I feel like the Irish would get kind of mad at you for that.
I see. What are there
Get your
anything else?
Sylvians. Get your sharks.
Oh, the sharks! Oh my gosh, the sharks. I'll put we want to put up a JPEG of the sharks right now. That's exactly what I'll do.
The thumbnail should be the stupid shark picture that we took with the table.
Yeah, that's true. That's true, the sharks.
And
That's for a different video, but that's like the sharks we'll use right here.
Yeah, you should make like rainbows over it too.
That actually is perfect with the little doofus sharks.
Also, I guess a fun trivia. I was born this month, so perhaps, I was destined to be gay.
Oh, snap, you're right. Oh my gosh, you're right.
Yeah. Did you know that another interesting thing is my birthday is on International Yuri Day.
Are you serious?
Well, I mean, I guess like in the sense that like Yuri Day is a thing, yeah.
That's kind of insane, actually. That's like scary insane. What the heck?
I was born to be Yuri.
What the heck? That's scary.
Yeah, guys, celebrate International Yuri Day this June 25th.
That's kind of insane. I actually didn't know that. That's genuinely scary.
Is it?
Yeah, that's scary because you're always talking about Yuri. It turns out it's National Yuri Day is your birthday.
Yuri.
That's crazy.
Guys, I love Yuri so much.
I did not know that.
I constantly rant to Zeez about it. I talk his ear off about all the wholesome Yuri. He's even annoyed that all my knowledge of Fire Emblem comes from Yuri.
Because it's true. It's true. I'll mention a character from Fire Emblem and he'll be like, "Oh, I know who that is," and I was like, "Why do you know who that is?" Like, Yuri. Oh, okay. It's very funny.
I know like the most common Fire Emblem Yuri ships.
Yep. It's ridiculous to me, but alright. It's funny. It's funny.
Hey guys, I recommend Reddit r wholesome Yuri. It is very wholesome. Yes.
Alright, I feel like that's a great way to end off. Alright.
We should talk about my Yuri manga collection.
Yeah, maybe some other time.
Alright guys,
she could go on forever, that's for sure. Oh my goodness. But yes, big thanks to Emmy for coming on and sharing your experience. This again was your idea, but I think it was a great one as well. I think a lot of people will be excited to listen to this one.
Yeah, hopefully everyone likes it.
All right. I think that's all from us. Happy Pride Month. This is where you say it too.
Oh, am I supposed to say it? Yeah, Happy Pride Month. Also celebrate International Yuri Day or something.
Oh my god. All right, there we go. All right, bye-bye. Thanks for watching.
Bye.